The Galactic Xenobiology Institute's headquarters orbited the neutron star of Calaxis Prime, a monument to scientific achievement that housed the genetic records of 47,000 sentient species. Dr. Vexthor, a crystalline researcher whose body refracted light into dancing rainbows, stood before the analysis chamber with what his species expressed as confusion, a slight dimming of his luminescence. The human sample had been processing for 3 standard cycles. That alone was unprecedented. This cannot be correct, Vexthor muttered, his vocal synthesizer converting crystalline vibrations into galactic standard. Run the sequence again. His assistant, a methane breather named Krill whose tentacles floated in her environmental suit, manipulated the holographic controls. I have run it 17 times, Doctor. The results are consistent. Impossible, but consistent. The holographic display showed the human genetic profile, but unlike every other species in their vast catalog, this one refused to fit into their established taxonomy. Every known sentient species fell clearly into one of 3 categories: predator, prey, or scavenger. Evolution demanded specialization. The galaxy's greatest minds had confirmed this as universal law, until now. Look at these markers, Vexthor said, expanding a section of the double helix. Apex predator characteristics: binocular forward-facing vision for tracking prey, exceptional endurance for pursuit hunting. But here, he shifted the display, prey species traits. The whites of their eyes evolved to communicate direction of threats to their group. Adrenaline responses designed for explosive escape. They even retain a vestigial flight or fight response that triggers when they're hunted. And the scavenger markers? Krill asked, though she already knew the answer. Omnivorous digestive system that can process nearly anything organic. Immune systems that treat every new substance as a potential food source. They can eat rotting meat that would kill most predators, yet also digest plant matter that would sicken pure carnivores. Vexthor's light flickered in what might have been the crystalline equivalent of a headache. It's as if evolution couldn't decide what they were supposed to be, so it made them everything. The door to the laboratory dilated, and Commander Zephyra entered. The avian officer's feathers were pressed flat against her body, a sign of concern in her species. Dr. Vexthor, I received your urgent summons. What have you discovered about the humans? Vexthor gestured to the display. Commander, we've been trying to classify them for their integration into the galactic community. Standard procedure requires us to understand a species' evolutionary niche, to predict their societal behaviors and optimal placement in our civilization. And, Zephyra's head tilted with bird-like precision, we cannot classify them. They are simultaneously predator, prey, and scavenger. Furthermore, their psychological profiles match this genetic contradiction. They form deep pack bonds like prey species, hunt with predatory patience, and display scavenger opportunism. They're cooperative and competitive, aggressive and nurturing, territorial and exploratory. Krill pulled up additional data. It gets stranger, Commander. Their planet, Earth, should have produced specialization. Instead, humans spread to every environment. Deserts, tundras, jungles, mountains, and adapted to all of them without speciation. They remained one species while becoming many things. Commander Zephyra studied the data, her raptor eyes processing the information with predatory speed. As a pure predator species, she understood the advantages of specialization. Her people had ruled their world's skies unchallenged for millions of years. This is concerning. How did they become the dominant species on their planet with such genetic confusion? That's what troubles me most, Vexthor said, his crystalline form dimming further. They didn't just become dominant. They became the only dominant species. Every other large predator on Earth learned to fear them. Prey species evolved specifically to avoid them. They mastered their entire planet not through specialization, but through being adaptable enough to outcompete every other niche. The display shifted to show human history. Cities rose and fell. Empires spread across continents. Technologies emerged at an exponential rate. Look at their warfare, Krill said quietly. They fight like predators, organized, strategic, persistent, but they also fight like prey, in massive numbers with instinctive coordination. And like scavengers, they repurpose their enemies' technologies, learning and adapting from every conflict. Zephyra's feathers ruffled. The Council will need to see this. We've been treating them as a typical emerging species, but if they're this adaptable, there's more, Commander. Vexthor pulled up comparative data. We analyzed their stress responses. When a pure predator species faces an impossible situation, they fight until death. When a prey species faces the same, they flee or freeze. Scavengers simply avoid the situation. Humans? Zephyra asked, though she sensed she wouldn't like the answer. They do all three simultaneously. Their bodies flood with chemicals that prepare them for combat, flight, and survival. But then their higher brain functions activate, and they do something we've never seen in any other species. They choose which response serves them best. Sometimes they fight impossible odds. Sometimes they retreat strategically. Sometimes they wait and adapt. They're not locked into evolutionary instincts like the rest of us. Krill's tentacles writhed with agitation. Doctor, doesn't that make them dangerous, unpredictable, or invaluable? Vexthor countered. Think about it. The galactic community has stagnated for millennia precisely because we're all specialists. Predator species run our military. Prey species handle logistics and diplomacy. Scavengers manage resources. We've perfected our roles, but we cannot transcend them. He gestured to the human DNA profile rotating in the hologram. Humans can be all of these things. They can hunt like predators, cooperate like prey, and adapt like scavengers, not just as instinct, but as conscious choice. They're evolutionary generalists in a galaxy of specialists. Commander Zephyra was silent for a long moment, her predatory mind working through the implications. Finally, she spoke. The question isn't what classification we give them, is it? It's whether the rest of us are ready for a species that defies classification entirely. Vexthor's luminescence pulsed in agreement. Indeed, Commander. We've catalogued 47,000 species, each perfectly adapted to their niche. And now we've encountered one that adapted to fill every niche at once. He paused, his light flickering with something that might have been awe or fear. Perhaps the real question is, what happens to a galaxy of specialists when generalists arrive? The hologram continued rotating, displaying humanity's genetic impossibility. In the silence of the laboratory, three very different species contemplated the same unsettling thought. The humans weren't just another entry in their catalog. They were something entirely new,